Hi everybody, it's Marcy, and welcome back to my channel. Today, I'm going to be playing with some tea bags and book pages. This idea came from Louisa Heinzel, and actually my dear friend Bonnie had posted a video showing these. This is watercolor, using watercolor and stencils on tea bags. And I just love the way these came out. Well, a couple of them didn't come out great, but they'll still do great as a background. That's supposed to be a feather, and that one is supposed to be little pebbles. Those didn't come out great, but that was actually my own fault. But, let's see, I've got a piece of file folder here. See, wouldn't that look awesome on a tag or something? Or if you even, because they are somewhat translucent, over a book page, and you can still see the text through it. But then I took it a step further and tried the same thing on book pages. This is a dictionary page, and this is a page out of a book. And I think that would be awesome in a journal. And it's watercolor, so it's not, you know, it's not going to stick to anything. The only thing you have to watch is if it gets wet, it could reactivate. So, let's get started. The first thing, I'm going to do the tea bag first. And what I'm going to do is set it here on my mat. And I've got a glass of water over here. Because my water brush doesn't have any water in it, I can't get the thing unscrewed. So, just dipping it into water. And actually, I'm going to, I think, use this brush. It'll go a little quicker. And actually, what I was doing yesterday was spraying it. Sorry, I guess I'm still trying to wake up. So, Bonnie brought me this idea, and what has prompted me to do this is when I was making my paper recently, I was having so much fun because it was something new for me. And as a junk journaler, sometimes I think I tend to get kind of complacent about learning new things. Okay, so I've got that completely wet. So it's sticking to my, in my case, I'm using a glass mat, but whatever surface you've got. And now I'm just going to continue using this brush. I'm going to spritz my watercolors that you can kind of see at the top of my screen. And I'm going to just pick a couple of colors. I don't want to get too messy with it, so I'll just use a couple of colors. Let's see, let's draw a little bit of this in. And you don't need to be especially neat with it or anything. Just get color. And you do want your tea bag to be pretty drenched in watercolor. Oops. Pick up a darker blue. I have found that the darker the color, the better this does seem to work, but I do like using a mixture of colors. Anyway, so I was doing my paper dyeing, and I forgotten, I guess, how much I loved learning new things. Okay, so now we've got that. Now I'm simply going to take a stencil and lay it over my tea bag. And I want my stencil to be as mushed down to my tea bag as possible. So I'm kind of using the water that's under here to help grab my tea bag. Now, Louisa was using a heat gun. But what she was using some silicone lace. I don't have silicone lace or silicone stencils, so I do not recommend using a heat gun. I'm going to be using a hairdryer, and I've got my hairdryer set to warm, and then I'll be using it on the high setting, and I'm going to dry my tea bag. Now I'm going to mute the video and speed it up while I'm doing this, so because this is going to be pretty loud. It'll be pretty loud here and really loud for you guys. Okay, so now it's pretty dry. So are you ready to see what we've got? Look at that. Look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? Where'd my file folder go? And wouldn't that be so pretty on a tag? Or whatever else you wanted to use it for. Okay, so that's thing one. That's what Louisa was doing. And like I said, she was using a silicone lace. I'm using a stencil. She was using a heat gun. I strongly discourage that. Don't ask me how I know. But I actually tried the stencil using the heat gun. And I used a stencil that I don't really use much anymore because I was afraid that no matter what I did, that at some point using the heat gun, the stencil would start curling a bit, and indeed it did. So, but then that led me to, okay, can we do the same thing? Or will the same thing work on like a book page? And it does. Now, I do it a little differently. And I'm going to use this sort of doily stencil again, just because I really like it. Okay, now for this one, what I had to do is I'm going to go ahead and wet my paper down. You can either use a brush or spray bottle like I'm doing. And grab my brush. And I'm just going to smooth it out onto my surface. Because the paper, when it gets wet, it is going to want to curl. And then just like the other one, I'm going to go ahead and put some color down. Let's see. Let's do some green this time. And we'll do some sort of golden kind of ochre. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and lay my stencil down, and then this is where it's going to get different. And some of this reddish pinkish may come up on the from the stencil, but that's okay. And I want to again mash my stencil down to my paper as best I can. Now, where I'm going to differ this time is, now that I've got my stencil down, I'm going to go back and I'm going to add a little more color in. And I think the reason that I needed to do this, the only thing I can come up with is that this paper is somehow not quite as absorbent. I'm not sure. But I found that this worked best for me. Was to have some color down, but then to go actually back in. I'm going to add a little bit. I'm probably going to make some mud here, but I don't care. I want kind of a third. What color was I using? There we go. Okay. And now, so I've got that done. And, I mean, you can see I was not being neat and pretty, and I wasn't being I was just getting the color down. And now I'm going to go back and I'm going to dry it again. So I did kind of turn some of it into mud, but it's still, and it's not completely dry. But now you've got this dictionary page with with coloring behind it and a fabulous design on it. So just picture, oh, it's really not dry yet underneath, but having something like that as a junk journal page. Now this one did really come out pretty messy. These two came out better, and I will say, the dictionary pages I'm using, I have to use the method I just showed you. This book page that I did from just a book, I was able to use the same way that I did in the tea bag and just put the watercolor on the paper, put the stencil it over it, and dry it. So it's going to depend on the paper you've got. But to me, what is so wonderful about this is that I never in a million years would have thought of using watercolor with a stencil. And as you could see, the watercolor does get underneath the stencil, and there's no help for that. It's watercolor. But I just think that gives it a really cool look to it. And the only thing you'd have to be cautious of is it could reactivate if it gets wet, because it is watercolor. But anyway, so that's what I was doing yesterday and today, and I wanted to jump on and show you that. That's my new, I had my paper making a week or so ago, and then I tried the tea bags and took that onto paper. In my Facebook group this month, I am challenging my members to also try new things, learn one, teach one, share one, so that we can all learn whatever new thing that they've learned. And it just new to the individual, because all of you may already know, yeah, you can, you know, yeah, using stencils on watercolor is great. That's commonplace. But for me, it wasn't. So I just think that's a lot of fun. And I really do love the way the tea bags come out. I wonder if I can get big sheets of tea bag paper somewhere. I need to look into that. But anyway, so that's it for today. Come on over to our Facebook group and join in join in on the fun and join in on the challenge for this month. I will have the link to the Facebook group down below. Be sure to check out Louisa Heinzel. I will have her YouTube channel listed below in the description box. Having trouble with my words today. And until next time, I wish you all a wonderfully happy, crafty day. And I will see you all again very soon. Bye-bye.